This is Android Tooltime, Google I/O edition, where we announced a preview of the new Android Studio 3.0, now available for download in the Canary channel. We decided to bump the major version to 3.0 thanks to the many new features and some breaking changes that we're introducing in this release. We've been listening to user feedback about adding more language support to the platform, something fun, concise, and expressive, like Kotlin. So we've decided to bundle Kotlin support with Android Studio 3.0, allowing developers to immediately start using it in their apps. You can choose to enable Kotlin in the new project wizard, and the generated activities will use it by default. Or, when adding new activities to your projects, you can use the language selector at the bottom to switch between languages. And finally, the Convert Java file to Kotlin file refactoring will help when converting your existing classes. Android Studio 3.0 is based on the 2017.1 branch of IntelliJ IDEA and includes all the enhancements from this and the previous stable release, including parameter hints for method calls, semantic highlighting, smart conflict resolution and syntax highlighting in version control, and more. To help developers bring Android O features to their apps, we're adding support for font resources and adaptive icons in the IDE. You can now create and preview XML and binary fonts in the Fonts resource folder. The layout editor also lets you pick downloadable fonts from the Google Fonts site for text views. To create an adaptive launcher icon for your app, open the Asset Studio and select the foreground and background images that you'd like to use. Of course, we're also including O system images for the Android emulator, so you can test your changes on the current O developer preview build. Coinciding with Android Studio 3.0, there are also big changes in the build system. We have built bytecode transformations called the Sugar into the default toolchain, enabling developers to use Java 8 language features in their code and libraries. We support lambdas, method references, default and static interface methods, and try with resources on all API levels. If you were previously using Jack, which is now deprecated, or some other bytecode rewriter such as retrolambda, migrating is as simple as removing them from your build files. With the new Gradle plugin, we are bringing performance enhancements to the build process, such as dependency resolution at execution time, faster builds for projects with a large number of modules, and incremental dexing. To support more fine-grained dependency configuration, including variant awareness for library modules, we had to introduce breaking changes to our Gradle DSL, so please refer to the documentation for migration steps. To reduce the burden of setting up and maintaining CI servers, we are also launching Google's Maven repo as a place where we distribute Google's build artifacts. At launch, we provide the Android support libraries, and you can start using them by adding the Maven repo URL to your Gradle files. Okay, let's talk about some more updates in the IDE itself. For debugging performance problems with your apps, we now ship the unified Android profiler in Studio. It's really a set of 3 profilers for CPU, memory, and network, shown on a single timeline that also includes various app events such as user inputs, rotations, and activity changes. By clicking on any of the 3 profilers, you can open the detailed view. For CPU, this includes a list of threads and a way to record and explore method traces. The memory view now shows a more detailed breakdown of where the memory is allocated, as well as lets you track object allocations and dig into heap dumps. The Network tab, apart from showing network activity on a graph, includes request and response information, such as headers and payloads for HTTP requests that were made using one of the supported clients. For now, we support HTTP URL connection and recent versions of Volley and OKHTTP. Please note that when trying out the Android profiler on pre-O devices and emulators, you have to enable advanced profiling in the Run configuration window in order to see full information. If you're writing C or C++ code in another IDE, or perhaps you're using other tools such as game engine toolkits to create your APK, you can now use the Android Studio native debugger with your app. Open the APK for debugging, attach the debug symbols and sources, and you will be able to step through code just as with an app developed inside Studio. Android Studio 3.0 is the first release to support creation of instant apps from your Android projects. There are 2 new module types, Instant App and Feature. Together with a new refactoring system, they help modularize your app. The AppLinks Assistant helps set up the necessary AppLinks support, while deploying an app includes automatic device provisioning for running instant apps. If you run into any problems when testing instant app builds, we've updated the APK analyzer to open instant app zip bundles. But that's not all. The DEX viewer now supports loading ProGuard mapping files to show removed and retained nodes, and can generate ProGuard keep rules. It also has an improved user interface, including filtering and search, lets you explore method usages, inspect bytecode decompiled to smiley format, and supports multi-DEX. The layout editor and the layout inspector are both getting updates to make iterating on layouts easier. The editor includes better right-to-left support, new constraint layout features such as chains and barriers, and has a new error panel showing problems in your layouts, for example when you're missing constraints. If you need to pull files from a device or emulator, try out the Device File Explorer, a much more user-friendly way to browse the remote file system than using ADB, for example. And finally, we have exciting updates in the Android emulator. For the first time, we're shipping emulator system images which contain the full Play Store, enabling you to seamlessly test integrations with other apps without having to sideload APKs. Play Store on the emulator also means that you no longer have to deal with outdated Google Play Services libraries, which will automatically update just like on a real Android device. Please note that the Play emulator images are signed with release keys, so you won't be able to get elevated privileges. If you require root access, you can use the standard AOSP emulator builds. Other important changes in the emulator include OpenGL ES 3.0 compatibility, a new bug reporting tool under Emulator Help, Wi-Fi network emulation, and a proxy settings page. For Wear developers, we added rotary input controls. Phew, as you can see, there are a lot of new things to play with in this release of Android Studio. Remember that we're doing these previews to get your feedback and fix bugs that you find in your projects. You can use the new Android issue tracker to get in touch with us, and be sure to follow Android Studio on Twitter for updates.